Welcome to the Vetiver Vibes podcast. We're your hosts, Nikki Frazier and Rachel Dean, certified clinical aromatherapists. We are excited to have you here on today's episode where you know that you'll get the best essential oil scoop.
This episode is brought to you by Essentria, a leading online school for aromatherapy. If you want to learn more about how to become a clinical aromatherapist, check out the courses at www.schoolofessentria.com. Welcome to this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes. Nikki Frazier here, and I'm very excited to have Natalie Clark on the show with us. Natalie is a renowned speaker, energy practitioner, and quantum facilitator who has a gift for catalyzing soul-led, high-achieving women to crack open their untapped potential. With her 6-step signature method, Ignite Your Brilliance, using quantum principles for the quantum age, her clients slash through eons of deep-rooted blocks and raise their electromagnetic field to create infinite possibilities. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Now, one thing we always like to ask all of our guests is, what is your favorite essential oil or scent?
Yes. If I had to choose, I'm going to go so basic and so bold and so vibrant, and I'm going to have to go with peppermint just because to me it is so invigorating and inspiring. And when I need to get going with my day, peppermint is a daily staple for me. So my other one, close second, would be sandalwood, just for the powerful grounding energy.
Yep.
But those are my two, one of many that I carry.
Awesome. I love it. All right. So for today, so just like in that intro, there was a lot of interesting words maybe that some people may not recognize so much. So when you're talking about, quantum and quantum leaps and electromagnetic field, that type of stuff. So do you want to explain a little bit of all of that to our listeners?
Absolutely. So, to put it in real world, common day, everyday language, quite simply, I think that there are ways that we can live our lives through what I call like the quicksand, the sludge of more that just getting by and living it from a reactionary place, right? And our energy fields are heavy, our bodies feel a little heavy, our minds feel a little heavy. We usually have a lot of overwhelm, maybe some frustration. And so when I talk about quantum and when I talk about I'm talking about living in a different frequency. We're still on planet Earth, right? But it is living our lives with more zest, more joy, more vitality. Our bodies are well. So it's mind, body, spirit wellness. And when you get yourself to that place, and to get there, we just have to slash through those eons of blocks that we don't even recognize necessarily that we're even carrying. But when we get there, we enter a flow state. And in that flow state is where we can really tap into the fullest human potential and kind of our fullest expression of what we came here to the planet to do. And so when I talk quantum, it's a way of getting there faster without shortcutting the actual journey, right? And recognizing our humanness, but it's tapping into more that holistic spiritual dimension that we're actually all here to do great things. We're not meant to live in survival mode. So I use the words like, being a catalyst, because we have to shake things up a lot. So we have to disrupt our patterns and the way our current lives are showing up. So it's much more of a, I call it gentle dynamite approach that I take when working with people. And obviously it's what has worked in my own life, in my journey, as a mother of 4 kids, homeschooling, trying to live this natural health and wellness, walking away from a breadwinner job and starting what I feel is my sole purpose, and finding a way to find the balance without the burnout or sacrificing my personal health, wellness from a mind, body, spirit aspect. So that's just a little bit about it.
That is great. And there's a few things in there that definitely sparked some intrigue. And one thing is, when you say that mind, body, soul, mind, body connection, we can't separate ourselves. And a lot of people almost feel like I feel like they think that they can. Like it's just our physical body that is being affected by everything around us. And it's like, no, our mind, body, and soul are connected. And there's no way to dissect us from one section versus the other. And if one part is out of balance, our whole wellness is out of balance. And we need to feed and nurture all of us. And that's where I feel some people have that disconnect maybe in that area.
Yes.
So that was,
Yes.
yeah.
I love that you bring that up because it is so true. You know, in the work that I do with women, it is about getting on a totally different train track than what we are currently on. But I always say that, you know, the body follows the mind. And so in our mind, we fabricate a lot of things coming from falsehoods, right? Falsehoods
Yeah.
we were born with, born into. And so we pick these things up along the way and we have this belief, right? Because our beliefs become our reality, beliefs that life is a struggle, life is hard. There's illness, there's disease, people are struggling, you know, and all of these things in our collective, when we look around our communities, and I'm obviously in the United States. So, you know, you can look around and you can build a case for those things. But when we put our focus on those things, that's what tends to show up in our lives. And so, really recognizing that the higher our electromagnetic field, I'm sure we can talk about that too, the higher our electromagnetic field can move, like at a frequency level, the healthier we are, the more we're able to be of service to others. And that's where the vibrancy and the radiance steps in. And all things are part of that. The foods we eat, how we care for our bodies, the sleep that we get. And I always say that, you know, most of us, especially here in the States, are running on low batteries and self-inflicted, right? We're not necessarily a product of our environment. We are a product of what we are allowing into our energy field. And so it's really about a higher level of awareness and a higher consciousness, recognizing that we are creating our life experience. And so
Yeah.
it's not our governments, and it's not our family, and it's not our community, and it's not our significant others, and it's not our kids' fault. We are creating and recreating our own reality. And so when we start to do the inner work and look inward and start to raise and elevate, we can create an entirely new experience. And the message I have is, there was a belief out there, I think, that I had, that it takes like a lifetime to get there, right? And the job's never done. But recognizing there are ways to create life shifts today, right?
Yeah.
Like immediately. And so that's where I try to bring that inspiration and be that catalyst for that different thinking, that our health and wellness is right around the corner, and it is going to be mind, body, spirit. And you start focusing on one thing, it's going to shift every aspect of our lives.
Yeah. And like you said, our mind, it can't tell the difference of what's actually reality and what isn't, right? So that's where, you know, when we're visualize things, when we are picturing things in our mind, our body and our mind will actually think that that is reality. And that's why I often tell people, clients, even my own kids, things like that. It's like, you know, like picture it, really feel it. Also, what you're picturing, it's that feeling, because that is going to be your reality. The more you can practice that and the more you can do it, because that's it. So I love that. The other thing you also mentioned was frequencies. And so can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know I love frequencies. I started to do a deep dive into them a while ago, and I just didn't have the time to continue, so I had to stop. But I know like everything, and there's a lot of science behind this for
Yeah.
those who are questioning it. But you know, everything has a frequency. The apple we eat for snacks, the desk that I am working on right now, everything, you know, light, air, doors, carpet, like food, our body, we all resonate at different frequencies. So how do you bring that into it?
I absolutely love frequency. And I came actually out of, my background was actually in higher education. So a highly trained academic world. Even though I went to college for business because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, it like took me 20 years to like get my act together and step into that world. Right. But what I will say about frequency is I have always studied like behind the scenes, and you said it exactly correctly, that everything carries an energy, everything carries a frequency. And that is scientifically proven and measurable. So every
Hmm.
human has a resonating frequency, right? And so people who are resonating more with fear or doubt or procrastination or lacking motivation, that is the frequency that is going out, and the life experience, comes back and reflects that. And this is where, to me, and there's so much amazing stuff out there in the transformation world, whether it's focusing on the health, there's all these different amazing niches, all of which are so important and very, very helpful. And then I came in at it and I was saying, if we can just raise our electromagnetic field, like, what does that mean? Raise our frequency. And so when you think about it, things that operate at a low frequency, and I think of it like the radio stations, right? For people who still tune into the radio, right? There are different frequencies out there and different stations. So depending on what station you're tuning into, you might get the music you love, you might get the music you want to run away from, right? And so all of us are doing this every single day in our life experience. We are tuning in with our personal frequency to a life experience. And then I think we have to ask, is this life experience blowing my mind? Am I in awe? Am I in bliss? Am I in joy? And I think for the vast majority of people, although I do think people try hard to show gratitude and stay in joy, if they actually look at their life and how they feel, it is not representing joy, peace, ease, faith, trust, and flow states. And so it's all comes back to the frequency. And I think in our Western world, I have a lot of connections over in other parts of the globe and have visited, and it's really amazing. We are very fast paced here in the Western world, right?
We are.
We're very much focused on striving and achievement and all those things. And honestly, it is in my wiring package too. And it has allowed me to do a lot of the things that I've done. But now as you get older and wiser, you realize there was actually an easier path that whole time, right? And so it's less about the hustle and more about the alignment. And we tend to resist the things that allow our frequency to rise. I teach a lot about taking the power of the pause. Now, I'm a very high achieving and active person. I have 4 kids, and there's always a lot going on. And yet I realized when I created my journey of entrepreneurship and my soul work, I knew that I had to do this. I was sitting around for more than a decade waiting for the person to teach me how to grow a business with 4 kids, how to walk away from a breadwinner job and figure that piece out, and how to do it from a place of ease and flow without the burnout. Because every time I mention to anybody, hey, I want to create something, I want to, start my own little thing, what came back at me was, oh, that's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. You'll burn yourself out, you'll sacrifice. And then I looked at my world and working full time in higher ed, even though it was a great job, it was also not doing or not lighting my soul up. And I was like, where's my time freedom? I wanted to be healthy. So frequency was always a huge part. And I would do the things and put the foods in my body and move my body, not just exercise, feed my brain, feed my soul, feed my spirit. And those things are what have allowed the accelerated growth. And, essential oils, each one carries its own frequency, right? There's blends. And so if you need prosperity in your life, or if you need cleansing in your life, or if you need grounding in your life, and if you need healing or calming, you're the expert there. All of these frequencies, and that's why people will resonate with a certain oil, right?
Yeah.
And me as a catalyst, me as an igniter, peppermint has been my favorite oil since I was probably in high school, because it carries that invigorating inspiration, get going, we can do this. So I love to think I filter everything through the lens of frequencies. Every geographic location carries a frequency. That's why people travel to the great places around the world to there's almost a soul healing that goes on when we visit places that carry a different frequency. So yes, that in and of itself could be a series.
Absolutely. I love it. And when you were talking about, that starting a business versus working in corporate world, I always like to say, there can be blood, sweat, and tears in both. And
Yes.
which one feeds your soul though? Because I worked in the school system for 15 years. It did not feed my it fed my soul at the beginning. I won't lie. I
Right.
loved it. I was a child and youth care worker, a huge passion, loved working with my students. And it did feed my soul. But it is also a very toxic environment working in school systems. It is not a lot of support for workers, and it did not feed my soul at the end by any means. And when people sometimes they do kind of question when people leave those steady jobs, but it's what is going to make you happy as well, because you can't continue to go somewhere every day that is just gut-wrenching to you and causing mental health issues or other issues that are happening too. So it's, again, it comes back to that whole mind body spirit connection of where you want to go. And I love that you brought in the essential oils and the frequencies, because absolutely they do carry frequencies. They are amazing. And I always found them as a quick way for myself when I know I'm feeling blah, I'm in a mood, I'm just not there. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, even burning the candle at both ends, and I can just grab certain oils, certain blends that I've created, and within minutes, I feel any kind of stress and tension melt away, and just the spirit rising, like for myself. And they do, they have that power when you're open to it as well.
Absolutely. And I think too, the more we bring awareness to the power, we're all living this, parallel lives here. But when we have a higher level of awareness and we use things with more intention. So when I diffuse my oils or any of the things that I do, I'm doing it very, very consciously, right
Mhm.
down to the color of the shirt that I wear, or
Oh,
the
wow.
movement practice that I did today before a podcast versus before what was on my plate yesterday. Like, preparing my energy field for what's ahead has been my business plan from day one. Meaning, if I'm in alignment, if I feel good, then whatever unfolds my way is it's going to be in perfect flow.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. When you step out on that path, and it's so cool to connect on the educational system. I came from a family of educators. My husband's actually a high school teacher as well, and I was in higher ed. And when I stepped away, I think that it shocked everyone, right? I was on that leadership track, like, she's nuts, she's crazy. And then of course
Right.
the bigger scarcity mindset of, she's married to a teacher, like, how are they going to make it? And honestly, that probably was my biggest fear. Like, I don't know, kids, if this doesn't work out, we might be camping in the backyard, or maybe moving back in with grandma and grandpa. But I had no plan B. It was time, and it was go time, and
Yeah.
no plan B. I didn't give myself an escape route, and had to overcome a lot of the ego and fear. But I had to raise my frequency every single day to offset the fears that just come in when we're stepping into something pretty expansive, and something that is going to help the greater population from that mind, body, spirit realm. I was helping people with their careers, and I remember more than half of my soul was sitting there screaming, like, I wanted to give them the tools that would really help them, get to where they wanted to go, but it wasn't my role.
Yeah.
And so I had to keep it in the closet, meaning you come home and you're essentially unfulfilled, burned out. And in education, it's like you're just sort of getting by as well. So
Yeah.
it's been such a beautiful journey to bust through all those limitations of my past and step into the freedom to create from a higher frequency, elevated place, where the sky, when they say the sky is the limit, I always say we have infinite possibilities.
Yeah.
And so it's, what do I wish to choose? And then how can I be that? Because it's there for all of us, but we have to be that. We have to raise our energy level to that place, which is why I love to do what I do.
Awesome. So let's say, because we do have a lot of aromatherapists listen to us, since that is our background, but just a lot of entrepreneurs also, or people who may be stuck in situations that aren't necessarily ideal, and they're looking to shift their careers, looking to shift their lifestyle, things like that. So what kind of things could people do to, raise their frequency, raise their vibration, and step into, the best version of themselves?
Yes. Absolutely. So what I would say for all of your listeners, and I want to just applaud the work that all of them are doing out there, and, helping others and essentially raising the vibration of the whole planet collectively. What I would say is the first thing that has to go into place, and this was something that I had always instilled in myself, got a little sketchy with it with 4 kids, the nursing and the up all night and all those things, and then also having to show up for a job. So what I would say is start getting up a little bit earlier than you do. And you've got to win your morning. Okay. Now, I'm at the point now where I'm like, well, we have to win our lives. So you're not just winning your mornings, you got to win your afternoons, and you've got to win your early evenings. But we all have to start somewhere, and consistency to a morning practice. And it will look different for all of us. And what my morning practice is different every single day, depending on if I'm on a podcast, if I'm coaching, if I'm speaking, if I'm working with an athletic team and some of my volunteerism. I'm traveling later today. So we need different energies, just like you need different oils. If you wanted to be inspired and you're going on stage, lavender may help calm the nerves, but maybe lavender is going to, not give you the energy you need. Just like you need different oils, you need different energies in your body. We have different energies flowing through us. And when we can regulate our parasympathetic and sympathetic systems, balance that left brain, right brain, and none of this is hard to do. You do it by winning your morning. Okay. Yeah. That's the key. Like the consistency. And, when we start like, oh, I'm good at exercise. And some of you out there, I'm sure, are like, I exercise every single day. I take care of my body every single day, and I want to applaud that. I also exercise every single day, but I'm talking a little bit more of winning your morning with your energetic field and balancing the energies that we have within us. And it doesn't have to take long. And in fact, if we have time, I'll be glad to teach a 2-3 minute energizing practice that I teach my 7-8-figure entrepreneur clients and friends. It's what I use, and it's what my kids use. It's a powerful practice. I know a lot in education use it too. These are short power practices that, and you can get, into the weeds with learning all of this stuff, but it's very simply body movement to shift the blocks. And I have seen people so incredibly stuck thinking they need a therapist or, counseling every single day, or energy clearing or Reiki or whatever their way of feeling better is. And you can teach somebody something in 3 minutes, 10 minutes, and all of that goes away. And I have seen it over and over in the work that I do, that people that had been seeing energy healers or counseling or whatever it is, like when they start winning their mornings and putting some of these energetic practices, simple, because I'm like, hey, I got 4 kids. I don't have 60 minutes for a meditation. I don't have another hour to exercise. I need to get it done in an efficient manner. And so, I was looking for that out there. And then I realized I kind of got that divine message. Go create it. It's what you're doing. And now go make it, because we need to do it. My mom, who's 78 years old, who's in beautiful health and just an incredible person, and really instilled in me my love for holistic living. We were the kids that didn't get soda, didn't get all the things, but that has been such I see now why I chose her, as I like to tell her. I'm like, I chose you, but she really instilled in us that focus on holistic living. But, my mom, who's 78, can do these practices as well. And she has lots of time on her hands, and I'm like, Mom, I wish I could study the game of life like you can right now, but I'm not at that phase in my life. Right. And so we need to move this energy and get us to a higher place of living, because everything changes when we change. Everything can change when we disrupt those patterns that we have. And so the ego will push back on a morning practice, or the ego will push back if you're tweaking it up a little bit, if it's already established. But it has been such a game changer in my life, personal life, business. I teach this work to my children. I teach it to anybody who wants to learn.
Awesome. Yeah, I would love it if you could demonstrate that practice. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we want to do it right now? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do
okay,
it while we're
let's do
chatting
it.
about it.
Okay, awesome. So I'll just preface it with, you know, in all the work that I teach, it actually combines movement. I've loved movement exercise since I was a child, whether it was sports. I got into yoga in my late teens where I had a book, I think from the library, and it just had poses and stretches. I was into dance. I was a figure skater. So obviously I needed stretching and working with the body's meridian system, lengthening muscles. So I studied that literally through a book. Pilates was part of my background, but just movement. And I noticed that anytime I felt really stuck in life, and I live on acreage in the trees, so I have access to the woods and trails, nature trails all around. When I got stuck in life or stressed, mom disappears. She's out in the woods walking the trails, usually power walking the trails, right? Because I needed to move that energy through. And I always tell my broader global community, I say, my best and brilliant ideas have only ever come out in the woods.
Yeah.
And it's after I've done some energy work and then I'm just out there and I'm receiving. And well, why is that? Outside air carries a much higher frequency than you and me sitting inside. Now, that's not a bad thing, but we don't spend enough time outside. So that's why it's like naturally, that's why we like to go for walks. We like to be by the ocean or, on the beach, because that outside frequency, it raises our elevation. So with these practices, these are powerful practices primarily for the electromagnetic field, meaning it is moving through your physical body. It is helping your organs, helping your glands, helping the endocrine system. It is, for a lot of this work, it will also sculpt out your muscles. A lot of people think I see a trainer. I'm like, nope, that is just me on the mat doing my thing. So it definitely can check the box of physical exercise. But when I approach this work, to me, it's like mind, body, spirit, complete overhaul. So it does involve breath. I'm trained also in breath work, but it's like I also don't have time for a 20-minute solo breath work session. Same with meditation. So it kind of brings all these beautiful things and it puts it together. So what I want to teach you is we'll use our breath and we'll use some movement, and I'll give some modifications in case somebody has shoulder issues, because we don't want that there's no need for any injuries. Everything is modifiable. And so this is, it's called an aura cleanse. And our aura, we're talking about our electromagnetic field. This is beautiful to use for people who have a lot of dominant, what I call wood element energy, which means the go, 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 the drive, the leadership, and also with those traits, maybe some anger, maybe some frustration, maybe some bitterness or resentment. We all carry some of this at times. A lot of my fellow educators will use this throughout their day, just dealing with what happens in the classroom, what happens in meetings. And sometimes when they come home from the day and it's like, now it's family time, it clears your energy field in like 2 to 3 minutes. It activates the liver and gallbladder meridians. So again, this is one where I've seen this practice if there is an energetic component of a headache. Now, obviously, there can be, you're eating the wrong foods or there's other components as well. But what has blown me away with this practice is how often it will clear heaviness, tension in here. Okay, so are you ready? All right.
Yes.
I think I have enough space. So I typically will do this one standing. I often do it just in my kitchen or on my front porch or wherever I have a little room. So you want to have a little space because you're going to be moving your arms and you might hit something and you don't want to get injured. So the hand position. Okay. So all of our fingers represent, and I know you know this from oils, right? The nerve endings that come in. But in traditional Chinese medicine and the elements, each one of our fingertips represents a different element. And so everything is, the hand positions are significant. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to tuck the thumb. Yep. And just cross it over to where that pinky is. And you're going to just fold it down like this. Okay. So I will, so that is the hand position that you're going to use. Now I'm going to show you the motion and then I'll show you the breath. Then we'll do it together for about 2 minutes. Okay. what we're going to do next here is I'm going to go very slow. You're just going to take your arms and you are going to go right through the top of the crown of the head. Okay. Just like this. All right.
So you're going over the crown of your head, though.
Over
is what you
yep,
want.
you're essentially you're just clearing out your aura, okay? But you're also moving the side body and you're getting all those meridians also in the arms, okay? Now we're gonna add a breath with this, and I think this is what takes it to a whole new level, okay? And obviously, I have clients that just do this and they don't care who's watching, right? You know, I live where my neighbors are 40 acres away, so I can do this in the comfort of my home. And my kids know that I'm a little crazy, so mom's always going to be making some noise. Okay. But that being said, I have done this in a vehicle. I have found places where I'm out and about, or before I do a lot of speaking before a presentation, I'll find a spot and I make this happen. Okay. So the breath on this, it's simply going to be an O-ring breath. Okay. So I'm going to show you my mouth and I'm going to. So I'm blowing from right here. Okay. Now, if you're pregnant, I want you to do just long, deep breathing. If you're in the first few days of your cycle, just be mindful. We're not trying to create any additional, discomfort down there, but the breath comes from right here. Okay. So I'm going to go. Most of us breathe up from up here. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so for those who, because if you want to watch it fully, come onto our YouTube station and watch it so you can watch the video. If you're just listening, so just putting your lips in an O form and breathing from your stomach, not from the chest, which I agree. Most people breathe from the chest, but we want to bring this down into the stomach and just doing like that, correct?
Correct. Yes. So you'll hear the breath.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to go back to our hand position and we're simply making fists, right? And we're going to go like this. And every time I bring my hand over the crown, I'm going to blow out. So it's going to look like this. And if let's just stay here. I don't have a timer, but I'm just going to intuitively do this for a little bit. I'm not going to make the blowing because as you're going, I would like to just explain what's also going on. So you keep your own breath going. And I want you to just envision and visualize whatever is standing in your way. And oftentimes it's coming in from the subconscious realm. I want you just to imagine that the way is parted. It is just cleared. You are clearing the path through the frustration, through the overwhelm, through any anger, through any bitterness. If you get into a contentious argument with somebody, or you're just feeling heavy over any kind of interaction, do this as soon as you can. My recommendation would be 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. You may, if you have a shoulder and you can't do this with, let's say, your left shoulder, then I'm going to have you just do the right one and envision the left one. Okay. So never put yourself in an uncomfortable position. And then to layer it even further, to access those subconscious blocks, I would love for you to consider closing down your eyes. Okay. So
I was just wondering if we close our eyes, would that be more beneficial?
Yes. I always, because I'm teaching it, I have my eyes open also so I don't hit my computer and take this whole thing down here. But I always, for most of the practices I do, unless they're standing and I need it for my own balance, most of the practices I do involve a lot of eyes closed down. Okay. So this is just, we're going to keep going. It is absolutely normal to be winded and exhausted. Okay. You would be shocked. And here's what I want to say. We're going to go about 30 more seconds. What I want to say is that I have people who lift weights, they train with personal trainers, and they begin to do some of the work that I like to teach. And they're like, Natalie, I hate it. It like burns my muscles. And what I tell them, and I'll tell your audience as well, that it is actually not the muscles as much as it is you're hitting your blocks. Okay. So it's those blocks that fatigue you. It's the ego mind. So stay with it. And then to end, we're going to flip the hands. So I'm going to interlace my hands, and I'm going to pull them over top like this. And I'm going to inhale from my navel center, pulling the energy all the way up, keeping the eyes closed. And I hold my breath as long as I can. And then I exhale. And a very slow release. And then
And so just
obviously, if you have the time, I always have people, if I'm teaching a class, and this is part of it, I have them just close down their eyes and tune into how is their energy field feeling. There's usually some heat. There could be some tingling. There could be some emotions that come up. But in general, that practice will carry you. That energy is going to be moving through your body and through your field long after you do it. So that is one of my favorite short practices. I think we probably did it about 2 minutes. And what you're actually doing is you're dispelling the energy that we pick up, the denser energy. And by denser energy, I mean lower frequency energy that we pick up when we're at our jobs or when we're not moving our bodies. And maybe we're around other people and things might frustrate us or things overwhelm us. A practice like that, 1 to 2 times a day. You shouldn't have to use it 2 times a day if you're also winning your morning, but that is such a beautiful one to do, especially if you're working long hours partway through the day, because otherwise your energy field just continues to, go down and go down, and you're exhausted, overwhelmed, and nothing changes in your life.
So I love that. That was awesome. So, and I love like the stretching down. Absolutely. So if during the practice, as just the breathing aspect, if it starts to become a little too much, is it okay to just then go to like deep, long breaths and then go back to the O breath?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome.
And actually, in our world, we have a lot of people with breathing problems.
That's
Really,
what I'm just thinking of that.
Yes. And by breathing problems, I mean, it's active, fit athletes too, but it's actually because we are programmed. Babies, when they come out and in their infancy, they breathe from their bellies. Adults, right? Because we're
We
here in
constrict.
fight or flight. Yes.
Yeah.
And so these practices actually open up the oxygen pathways and all the things in our lungs, which are also responsible for detoxing the body. And I mean, so this is a powerful health practice to do as well and boost immunity. But what I would say is that anytime, because with this work, because we're not used to it, we can get a little dizzy or lightheaded. So just bring a long, deep breathing instead. Perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, awesome. And so when you are doing the practice again, can you just remind people again, so what should they be focusing on in their mind while they're doing it?
Yes.
Is it more
So
the letting go, or is it focusing on the positive that they want to bring in? What?
Usually when you're doing this, you just want to like clear your energy. So it's kind of like you're bringing in the dynamite, instead of hitting the punching bags, instead of just screaming at the top of your lungs, which is an energetic, outlet as well. This is taking whatever energy is built up and it is releasing it through the breath and also clearing it from the energy field. So I like to think of whatever is standing in my way, whatever is, and sometimes a person might flash in, or a situation, or a boss, or maybe it's a pattern that we're aware of. So for my clients, a lot of them are moving through and coming out of the scarcity mindset. And so I'm going to push through this scarcity that is making, so whatever, without overthinking it, because we want to get out of our minds, I would just let the energy do the clearing and focus on, you're just aligning with a higher version of yourself in 2 minutes or less, right? Now, is that going to solve all your problems? No, because the next block will show up, but there's tools for everything that come your way. But that tends to be one that is just really invigorating. It clears the energy. It also gives you an energetic boost as well. So it's a fun one just to teach.
Yeah, no, I love that. And now, if people want to incorporate essential oils with that, is there any, because you do use oils in your practice as well, is there any oils that you would recommend would go really well with that practice?
So I love a lot of different blends, which I'm sure anybody in working with aromatherapy, they have access to a lot. But, one of the things when I think about that, and depending on your background, that one is really clearing the aura, all of it. Okay. So it's kind of like a very all encompassing. So when I think of this practice, the oils that come to my mind are more the ones that bring in higher levels of energy, more that yang energy, more
Mhm.
that sun energy. I don't see myself getting up in the middle of the night and doing this practice, because it's
No.
going to actually activate the wood element, which is going to stimulate, go get your to-do list and get it done, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit more of a daytime practice, where I have other practices that I can do lying in bed, and that will bring in more of that yin energy, settling, calming, which for practices like that, I think of the lavenders, the peaceful, the
Mhm.
calming oils. So with this practice, usually it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to clear some energy, let's just do it. And wherever I'm at, I do it. I do this in suits, I do this in yoga attire, I do this in my pajamas.
I
I
love
do
it.
this no matter what I'm wearing. So in terms of grabbing oils, when I do longer practices, I always have kind of my theme for the
Yeah.
day. Like, what do I need? What is this practice? What is the intention? And then from there, I pull in the different oils. So it's super fun.
Nice. Awesome. And the fact that you're saying, it's invigorating, it's daytime, you're clearing. So like to me, first thing that comes to mind is citrus, right?
Ooh.
And your sweet orange, your grapefruit, your bergamot, even of just helping to clear and uplift. I feel, and the peppermint is going to be uplifting, spearmint, things like that. Even some of the herbs like rosemary, basil, I find are very, again, they lift, they clear,
Mhm.
so many of those things. So the just in doing it, those are the oils that were coming to my mind,
Yes, I love
as great
this.
ones to pair with
You're
it.
giving me ideas. Eucalyptus popped in too for me,
Yes.
just kind of that cleansing, because that's what you're doing. I always say that when we work with this energy, and really just so your audience knows, the energy that we are working with, when we talk about frequency, we are working with a white light frequency and source energy, and it is actually within us. But in our humanness, it just is mostly dormant,
Mm.
because we are standing in its way, right? Because we don't even know this is in us. So when we start using breath, when we start using sound currents, I do a lot with some mantra. It feels a little weird at first, and I felt weird at first, but then I realized what it was doing. Just like the essential oils, you can combine oils with sound, but the most
I
powerful
love working with sound. I
Yes,
love
yes.
it.
So
Yes.
our own voice and how our tongue hits our teeth and the roof of our mouth is stimulating these meridian points. And so that's where I've really, now understanding with, a lot more training and research, the power of what we have right inside our own bodies. I mean, we are so incredibly designed. And so I think that we're just tapping into our potential of what is actually out there. But this energy, as it surges through us, it's a white light frequency. I go to an infrared sauna and all these light therapies, all are great stuff. Our bodies do need all that. But I'm
Yeah.
like, the best source of energy is already within us. And when we can get out of our own way, meaning commit to a daily practice and do the things that allow this energy to surge, it travels up the spinal column, it travels up the energy channels up and down the spine, it changes our lives quantum style, which means essentially really, really, really fast. So
Yeah.
the key is, I always say, consistency. It's not about the length of time as much as it is about consistency to a practice. Just like,
Yeah.
if you have a health issue or some reason you're using an essential oil, if you use it twice a week versus several times a day,
Yeah.
big difference, because you
Yeah.
have to shift the momentum. Exercising the physical body twice a week is beneficial, it's helpful, but it's probably not going to get you out of the rut you're in or rewire any new patterns. And so I
Yeah.
always say consistency over length of time. Do a little and be consistent, and you will over time build that momentum.
And like you said, that consistency, it gets the ball moving for it to continue. Like you said, that momentum. I always remember in high school, that was one of, I don't remember what teacher, but the first time I remember hearing it is, if you are working out, your metabolism, your health, what the good things that are happening in your body don't stop when you stop working out. They continue through the day for hours afterwards, because the body has started that momentum and it just continues. And it's the same thing with everything else. Once you start it, and you do have that consistency, it will continue the momentum to move forward and keep going and going and going. And sometimes it can be hard to do that consistency. And I find when I'm working with clients and they come to me with different situations, they want that quick fix because they're so used to Western medicine of going to a doctor, here's a prescription, here's a pill, take it for 3 days, take it for 7 days, and you're good to go. And it's like, well, if you took you 10 years to get your body into this state, it's going to take more than 7 days to get you out of this state as well. And so it's that consistency of, you said, sometimes you just need a little bit, but maybe twice, 3 times a day, even maybe once a day, depending on what it is. But if you make that commitment to yourself, once a day, applying that oil blend is typically, what I'm seeing my clients for is, once a day applying this and doing that for 1 month and then you'll see your new baseline, and let's see, keep going from there and keep going from there. And just sometimes it's just start with one step, just because you look at the big picture and it's very overwhelming. And I get that, but just start with one step, do it once, see how that feels. Did it feel good? Awesome. And sometimes it doesn't feel good, but it's still awesome. It's one of those, like, it's a good hurt. I always like to say when I'm doing different yoga poses or different breathing techniques, it's that good pain because it feels good, but there's some discomfort. And okay, that's great. So now let's do it again. And now let's do it again. And eventually all of a sudden it does become that ingrained into your normal day to day, which is what we want eventually. So that's awesome.
Yes, no, I love
I
that,
love that.
that power of consistency and switching the momentum, because you're absolutely right. If we aren't rewiring, we have to rewire our brain. And, they say it takes a minimum of 40 days to disrupt a pattern and to put in a healthy habit or to release. And then it can stretch onward from there, meaning then you can continue to build on it. And I think our densest, oldest generational patterns that we all carry, those things can't even come to the surface until we begin to do this inner work, right? And it's not about doing shadow work or we're not archaeologists. We're not getting the shovel. I always tell people, we don't care. We don't care about the past. We are 100% focused on what is the energy I need to go here. And that is where we direct our efforts. And in the process of going here, all of this stuff that is, like, I call, like, the 5,000-pound backpack that we are trying to climb the mountain. And we're like, why is life so hard? We don't need anything in that 5,000-pound backpack, right? But we are actually carrying it energetically. And we're also carrying it in our physical bodies. And it does manifest as disease and illness and, pains and all those things. It is incredible to me, the amount of people who have said that shoulder I had or that old knee injury or whatever, because I always teach modifications, because some of the work that I teach is like a 20-minute when you're morning awesome practice, but I always give the modifications. But I have just been blown away by the number of people, primarily women, who that take on this work, and they're like, my neck, I've had fusions, it's healed, the pain went away. And I was sitting here like, well, it makes sense. We're working with source energy, which is going to heal everything. And it doesn't necessarily take all 40 days. I've had people after 1 or 2 days say, my body has never felt this amazing. And I had a lady recently say, I wish I could just put this feeling I have in a bottle and sell it.
I love it.
Said,
I love it.
In you. Yeah. And I'm like, now that's a novel concept. Like, put it in a bottle and sell it, but it's within all of us. And that, I think, is true empowerment. True empowerment to me is owning our journeys, knowing that we have guides and resources and tools and all these things that we can learn how to use and we can get guidance from. But at the end of the day, the only way we heal is that if we ourselves allow the healing. And so I think stepping into that ownership and trusting that there's a solution to every problem we all face, every problem. And there is that solution. If our frequency is high enough, we will resonate with the right frequency. When we're in the doldrums of life, in, more the victim mindset, I think we are not at a frequency. The frequency of what we attract in there is not the solution to the problem. It is the Band-Aid. It's the 3-day prescription or the 7-day prescription, which is just masking a root cause. And so I always say, the solution to all of our problems is to raise our frequency. Because if we keep raising our frequency, those problems can actually no longer exist. And
there's no room for them
there's no room
because they're
yes,
you've snuffed them out, I always like to say, because we've raised it so much. It's like, pushing the oxygen out when there's a flame there. It'll go out, the flame will go out because there's no oxygen left. It's the same thing of, you raise it so much that so that there's no room for it there. Absolutely. And when you're talking about empowerment, it is, we've given our power away over the years, willing or unwillingly. And I do this, I teach this a lot when I'm working with people who are pregnant. I work with a lot of pregnant people, big in the surrogacy world, as well as I'm past surrogate and I have a practice where I'm walking through people of regaining their own power back because so many have given it away. And like you said, we have it within us. We just need to find it again and empower ourselves to utilize it. But it is within us, absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I feel like I could honestly talk to you for hours. But I think this is a good spot to kind of start wrapping up. If you had a couple of things that you could, recommend or few parting words for our listeners, what would they be?
Yes. First of all, I just want to applaud all of you trying to do life and do it better, right? I think there's an innate call right now. I think it's on an uptick that we can do things better. We're kind of looking at the systems that are and saying, this isn't cutting it, this isn't working. And I think that my guess would be a lot in your audience. They are looking for solutions and not band-aids. They're looking for true solutions. So I want to, first of all, applaud that, encourage that, and stay the course. There is going to be a path for each one of us, and it is a beautiful path. And a big part of it is clearing our energy field and keeping ourselves. We know by how we feel. That indicates where we're headed. And so when we feel heavy, when we feel burdened, know that that is not who we are in our authentic self. It's giving us a good indicator, right? It's that check engine light. Okay, what's going on? Use the practice I just taught. Move your body. If someone came up to me and said, what is one word of advice that you would give anybody that, anybody to up level their life? And I would say move. Literally, the universe moves when we move. We have to play this game of universal chess, and we store in our body these limitations, these belief patterns. And so when we move, and again, there's obviously great ways that we can move our bodies, but very simply, we're meant to move. And so by walking or running or swimming or cycling, those things, they are moving energy, right? I work a little more strategically with it and move it a little faster and maybe simpler, but just simply move your body and go for a walk and clear your energy. And I always say, when we're in a heavy burden state or overwhelmed state, that is not the best time to tap into our intuition. Because when we feel burdened, when we feel frustrated, when we feel overwhelmed, the voice coming through is not going to be our intuition. Okay. It's going to be the voice of the ego, which is probably trying to keep us right in this turtle shell of our comfort zone. I always like to think the work that I teach is edgy in the sense that it takes you to your edge, and we're pushing through. It's in a way I consider like childbirth. Like you kind of have to just get after it and use some of that dynamite from within. So just want to encourage everyone, no matter where you're at, all things are fixable. All things are fixable, right? Not that anybody's broken, but in our monkey minds, we create these scenarios that we're broken, we're unhealthy. And yes, we can do better. Okay. But there's always a path. And when we raise our energy and when we feel just a little bit better, the right solutions can come our way. So just want to encourage everybody out there, go out there and live your biggest lives and dream big.
Awesome. I love that. And even, like you said, move. If that's a 2-minute walk outside, if that's all you can do one day, then that's still a step in the right direction. I absolutely, absolutely love that. Thank you. And if people wanted to connect with you, learn more about these awesome practices that you are doing, where can people find you?
Most of the work that I do, I love to do tons of free trainings. I have a private Facebook group. It is for women only at this point, and it is called Ignite Your Life with Natalie Clark, because that's what we're doing. But there's a lot of the background information, a lot of not just mindset work, but more the universal principles, like the why behind it, yes, but then the actual practices. That is my free gift to the entire world, anybody that cares to learn. I always say the work that I do is not for the faint of heart. It calls forward more of a spiritually advanced person that really wants to own their journey and step into the highest version that they're meant to live here on earth. So that's probably the best place. I also have my website, natalie-clark.com. That's a great way to get in touch with me as well. But I try to offer tons of resources, because to me, the work that I do is here to impact at a global level. And it is for everyone who truly wants to take that mind, body, spirit, and take it to an entirely new level. And that's what I'm here to do. I see the vision, and I might not have other people that see it yet, but that's okay. I just know that it's possible.
That's key. Yet.
Yes. And I call them my little 5D anchors around the globe, rising to the challenge, and they're rippling in their communities and in their worlds as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. It was an amazing discussion. I'm hoping all the listeners have enjoyed this and continue doing the practice that we did. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in. Nikki here with Natalie, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for spending your time with us here at Vetiver Vibes. This episode was brought to you by Essentria, a leading online aromatherapy school. Don't forget to check out some of our free resources at www.schoolofessentria.com.
If you love this episode or you got a lot of value out of it, please make sure you share it with someone in your community who you think would enjoy it too. If you haven't already subscribed or reviewed the show yet, you can go on over to your preferred streaming platform and hit subscribe, then leave a review. This is the best way to help support us, and we appreciate it. Email us with a screenshot of your review, and we will send you a free guided meditation as our way to say thank you.
This podcast is for information purposes only. We are certified clinical aromatherapists and holistic health professionals. If you have a medication concern, please refer to your health team. Everyone's health is unique to themselves, so the topics and suggestions stated may or may not apply directly to you.